Welcome to this week's Business Success in a Virtual World podcast. I'm Tim Bajarin, Chairman of Creative Strategies, and along with me is Barton Goldenberg, President of ISM Guide and one of the top authorities on CRM and customer service. He's written 3 books on the subject, and together we're going to just share with you another case study, which is what we've committed to for every one of our sessions, about what's going on. But since our last discussion and podcast, there's been a couple of bits of news that may sound disheartening for those who are looking at the future of the metaverse, but I want to put that into perspective. Yesterday, Disney decided to let go of their entire metaverse team. Now, on the surface, it could suggest that they are getting out of the metaverse. 2 things that are important to understand. Disney is actually jettisoning over 8,000 jobs as a part of a restructuring. And this particular group was one of them that lost the entire division. Secondly, I don't believe that Disney is not committed to the metaverse. They still have teams that can work through their overall science teams and innovation teams that can still work on these projects, as opposed to it being a dedicated division. Most of the studios that we are aware of are still very much committed to figuring out how to use not only AR, VR, and XR in the future, but finding a way to be a part of creating original content. So even though there were some negative commentaries about Disney getting out of it, I think you need to kind of take that with a grain of salt. A dedicated metaverse division, I actually never thought made sense anyway. And again, I don't know what their original objectives are, but believe me, their Imagineers are more than capable enough to pick up the VR, AR, XR championship push or champion push in the future. This week, Barton has another very important case study of a company that's already using AR and VR. And that's one of the things that our podcast is really focused on. The whole idea of what is going on today, not necessarily what's going on tomorrow, but what's going on today in AR and VR. And we have uncovered through our metaverse research and resource center over 120, 130 case studies of companies that are already using AR, VR, and XR in their businesses to not only speed up the process and operational capabilities, but also to save an incredible amount of money. This week's particular case study that Barton's going to discuss has a lot to do with an emphasis on digital twins. You may have heard this term, but the concept behind digital twins is really the focus on taking a physical experience or a physical operational experience, like an interactive with a customer service agent on the phone or through some kind of automated process, and moving it over to what in essence is a virtual world. And the whole concept of this is part of a very big push across all industries called digital transformation. And this particular company that Barton's going to be discussing with you today has embraced this in a big way. So Barton, why don't you share with us the particular company that we were going to focus on today?
Well, thanks, Tim. You know, in 2022, the high-tech and venture capital industry's focus on the metaverse reached a fervorous pitch, with VC funding for the metaverse surpassing $120 billion. While the new focus in this year in 2023 is right now on generative AI, and I say think chat GPT, make no mistake about it. The VC community and individual companies continue in 2023 to make huge investments in the metaverse, which is often referred to as the virtual world. In our last podcast, I presented the Procter & Gamble LifeLab metaverse case study, a wonderful example of how a U.S. global consumer products company is leveraging the metaverse and virtual world tools to create consumer applications for well-known products like Gillette razors, Oral-B and Crest toothbrush systems, and many other well-known brands. LifeLab is fun to visit, and LifeLab's impact at P&G that I described last podcast is significant. At the Consumer Electronics Show last year, thousands of people visited LifeLab over the 3-day conference, and P&G confirms that each visitor spent on average 20 minutes inside LifeLab, which is their virtual reality offering. That 20 minutes inside LifeLab compares to the average consumer spending about 7 seconds reading or 30 seconds watching a P&G ad. Think about that for a moment. That's really a significant difference for customer engagement and ultimately sales resulting from that visit. During this podcast case study, I purposely want to switch gears and focus not on a B2C, which is the case for P&G, but a B2B, business to business, metaverse case study. More specifically, I want to talk about how Siemens, an innovative global German company, is pioneering industrial metaverse usage. For those that are unfamiliar with Siemens, they're a German multinational conglomerate with annual revenues in 2022 of $78 billion. They're headquartered in Munich, in Germany, and have foreign branch offices globally. Siemens was founded in 1847, which is more than 175 years ago. Today, Siemens is the largest industrial manufacturing company in Europe. They position themselves as a technology company focused on industry, infrastructure, transport, and healthcare. They're focused on resource-efficient factories, resilient supply chains, smarter buildings and grids, sustainable transportation, and other such offerings. Siemens takes pride in creating and implementing technology in-house that adds real value to their industrial customers' operations. Now, before I actually share with you the details of the Siemens Metaverse case study, I want you to know that Siemens has taken a pioneering and strategic approach to doing business successfully in the metaverse, something that Tim and I have been promoting the last couple of years. For example, gentleman's name is Peter Korte. He's Siemens' Chief Technology and Strategy Officer. And this is what he said in a recent interview. We don't claim that we know what the metaverse is, but we have an idea of what it could be, and we want to shape it. What Korte and other Siemens executives know is if Siemens can put their stakes down in the industrial metaverse space early on, it will propel Siemens' own transformation plan to become a more digital, software platform-driven engineering firm. So let's dig now into some of the details of how Siemens is delivering on their B2B industrial metaverse vision. Implementation of the vision falls under the responsibility of Siemens Digital Industries Division, whose CEO, and this is quite important, is also a member of the Siemens Management Board. So it's getting very good visibility at the executive level. For context, Siemens Digital Industries Division focuses on creating tools for designing, testing, and manufacturing physical products like cars or airplanes or computer chips, consumer goods, and other. Siemens' implementation strategy is built around what Tim introduced earlier on, namely the use of digital twins. In fact, Siemens believes digital twins are the building block for the metaverse. And what's impressed me is the extensive portfolio of simulation, optimization, testing, and design tools that Siemens has created to link factories to their digital twins in the metaverse. And I'll talk about this a little bit more in a moment. Let me give you a couple of examples of how Siemens is actively taking its own medicine. Example one, Siemens has designed, modeled, tested, and built a new Siemens factory in Beijing using a digital twin in the metaverse that simulates factory machines, people, robots, and material to find the optimal blend of equipment and processes for that factory. This factory is said to be about 20% more productive than current equivalent factories. But in my mind, perhaps more importantly, through these sorts of simulations, Siemens and their industrial customers can not only find efficiencies, but they can lay the foundation for data-driven insights that impact factory design, maintenance, product design, people management, that includes training and automation. Let me come back to that for a moment. So what they're doing is they're running their machinery in factories today, and with a very large importance on data capturing, they're able to understand better how machinery is being run optimally or not optimally on the factory floor. They then take that data insight from the factory floor and using AI tools, artificial intelligence tools, they bring that into their digital twin in the metaverse, and they apply the insight from the AI data-driven factory readings to the metaverse digital twin, and they optimize the digital twin, which is actually quite interesting. So another example, to illustrate industrial metaverse, Siemens has committed to develop between now and 2035, so 11, 12 years from now, its own smart city that they call Siemensstadt Square, which is a digital twin of an existing city called, not surprisingly, Siemensstadt, that dates back to the 1890s. Now think about that. For those of you that have had the pleasure of visiting the beautiful country of Germany, many of the older towns are legends, and things are work beautifully, but they still are not modern and still very much in the living in 1890s, 1940s, whatever the city may have been born. As a part of optimizing this digital twin city, Siemens is now determining what kind of buildings are needed. They're simulating personnel requirements. They're optimizing traffic flows and much more. So here's another example of Siemens taking its own medicine, if you will, taking an existing city that includes factories and buildings and all kinds of things, putting its digital twin into the metaverse and optimizing that, not so much to come back in and rebuild Siemensstadt as a city, but to use the learning as Germany goes about innovating and creating new and better cities. Let's look for a moment at the 4 key accomplishments that I've identified that Siemens is seeing as pioneers in the industrial metaverse. So their first accomplishment is they've installed their factory automation technology in about 30% of all manufacturing equipment, where their design and product lifecycle management tools are a staple in most industrial companies. Now, what these tools do is they generate terabytes of factory machine data that I alluded to earlier on that can calibrate a production digital twin in the metaverse with live data coming directly from the factory floor. This live data can in turn be used to design better factories, where Siemens is able to identify bottlenecks, quality defects early on in the design process and deliver a more effective and efficient factory. Accomplishment number 2, Siemens' goal is to transform the way industries build factories for new products. And for example, Siemens, when they faced a semiconductor shortage during the COVID pandemic, Siemens assembled a digital twin to redesign a Siemens circuit board to take advantage of new parts. They were able to optimize the design and push the new board into production within days versus more like 6 months using traditional approaches. Accomplishment number 3. As a result of some of these new innovations, Siemens Digital Industries has grown their revenue the last couple of years by an impressive 25%, from 15 billion to 20 billion, by transforming its digital twin portfolio to an industrial metaverse cloud. Speaking of the metaverse cloud, and this is their 4th accomplishment, Siemens has launched 2 important initiatives. In the first initiative, they created something called their Accelerator Digital Business Platform and Partner Ecosystem. And this is aimed at helping both Siemens internally as well as external customers to accelerate their digital transformation efforts. The second accomplishment, if you will, this initiative that they've launched, was just in June of last year when they struck a deal with the American high-tech company NVIDIA, based out of Santa Clara, California, to combine Siemens' Accelerator digital business platform with NVIDIA's Omniverse metaverse platform, both to enable industrial metaverse and to help companies design and operate metaverse applications. Now, Tim may want to comment on this after I finish the case study, but that's very significant because NVIDIA is a powerhouse in the semiconductor industry, but they've branched into this new NVIDIA Omniverse platform with the specific goal of enabling industrial metaverse and helping companies to design and operate applications in the metaverse. But let me close, Tim, by just suggesting that, you and I have felt for some time that all companies really need to create and implement an effective metaverse strategy today to be ready for either implementation today or shortly, thereafter. For the German engineering firm Siemens, being a pioneer in the metaverse has gone, in my opinion anyhow, well beyond strategy. It's become more of a crusade where they see themselves as the petri dish for the industrial metaverse. So it comes as no surprise that the German Chancellor, Olaf Scholz, who spoke at Siemens' 175th birthday party, said that Siemens had electrified, moved, united, and constantly reinvented the world. And today, with their focus on the industrial metaverse, Siemens continues this impressive journey. Over to you, Tim.
I'm really struck by Siemens' vision here. The fact that they're willing to take a significant amount of money and build a research version of this digital twin, and it's already starting to pay off. When you think about this particular idea, and something that you and I have been pushing with corporate clients and customers for over 2 years, is you've got to start somewhere. You can't just it doesn't just happen. And as we have recommended to many customers and individuals who we've been speaking with, is they need to at least find a key person within their organization who does have a vision and does have an understanding of, number one, what they're doing in the digital twin, digital transformation process, and then figure out how they can use the virtual world to speed that up. I mean, Siemens' approach to this is really innovative because they're literally inventing the future in the metaverse. And that's fascinating, right? One other thing you mentioned, of course, is the connection to NVIDIA. NVIDIA had their developers conference last week, and we got to spend some time with their CEO, Jensen Huang, I think it was about a week ago. And they're really, as I have written, in fact, I wrote in my Forbes column today that NVIDIA really is important to the whole future, not only of artificial intelligence, but the metaverse, because their Omniverse architecture is really a platform for building virtual worlds. And more importantly, in their particular case, they're doing it as a service. So by linking up, for example, with a NVIDIA, as Siemens did here, they were actually able to speed up the process to deliver their first versions of these digital twins in a virtual world. So yeah, I mean, this is an amazing case study, and it's worth our readers and listeners to take a deeper look into this, because they really, I think, have created a roadmap of how many major corporations, even mid-level corporations, need to think about the future of virtual worlds.
Yeah, let me just pick up on that, Tim, for two things. One, the importance of a leader willing to take a risk, put stakes in the ground, and move forward. And that was this Peter Korte, the Chief Technology and Strategy Officer of Siemens. And remember what he said: we don't claim we know what the metaverse is. We have an idea of what it could be. We want to shape it, and we want to be the petri dish of industrial metaverse. So that's just somebody who had a vision and wanted to make this happen. Again, he works closely with the division that can make that happen, who sits on the board of Siemens AG, the parent company. And so they did that right. But I also thought about this case study and why Siemens took this giant leap forward. Part of it also has to do with their own internal desire to be as efficient and effective in the tools and the factories that they're creating for their industrial clients. So they used it both for their internal value to do things better, and then they extended that to their customers. So it was like a win-win for both. The other story you just mentioned about NVIDIA, and you're out in Santa Clara. For those that know, I'm out in Washington, D.C., so Tim is a lot closer to NVIDIA, but it's really quite an amazing tool that they've created. And I think that the Omniverse, just as an example, it's been picked up by Mercedes-Benz, who's now designing virtual factories with NVIDIA's Omniverse, and many, many other companies. So I think that NVIDIA is positioning itself really to to be a leader in this whole area of digital twins and virtual, whatever it may be, in this case for Mercedes-Benz factory. So yeah, it's a great case study. It's a wonderful example. And by the way, it's more than 150 case studies now that are in the Metaverse Resource Center. And as Tim and I have always said, it's a great way to learn. It's a great way to understand by sector and by job function who's doing what in real life today in the metaverse. And for anybody that would like us to guide you through the Metaverse Resource Center, give either one of us a call. We'll be happy to give you guidance.
And Barton, tell people how they can actually find the Resource Center.
Yeah, so the Metaverse Resource Center is www.ismguide.com/metaverse-resource-center. Or if you don't remember that all, just go to www.ismguide.com, and sitting right up on the top of every page, it says Metaverse Resource Center. Tim and I created that 2 years ago. I told Tim we just won an award here on the East Coast for the most creative and innovative resource center award for 2023. I think the award is being given. 147 case studies at last count, lots of videos, lots of articles that both Tim and I have written, but others as well. And what I really like about it, and what others seem to tell me they like about it, you come in and say, I'm a biotech company, or I'm a manufacturing company, or I'm a financial company, just focus on the case studies that are relevant in the metaverse for that particular industry. Or you can come in and say, I'm in sales, or I'm in marketing, or I'm in customer service, just focus on sales metaverse case studies or marketing metaverse case studies. So, you can find your way and get to what you really need to learn.
Yeah, it's basically a labor of love for Barton and I to create this. But he's right. The fact that we've been able to not only accumulate these existing case studies, and mind you, these are case studies of companies that are using it today, not tomorrow. They're using it now to enhance their efficiency, to build actual roadmaps for the company, as Siemens has done with their manufacturing, etc. And it's picking up some steam, as Barton mentioned, that it's gotten this new award. But the important thing about that resource center is that it gives you a real good sense of what we're talking about is real. It's not, futuristic. These companies are really using the technology to create their virtual digital twin, and in the process, really reaping the benefits that includes everything from efficiency to cost savings, etc. I'm really fascinated in general with the fact that, even with all of the negativity around the concept metaverse, the fact of the matter is, if you look at the most recent TV commercials for Meta, they're stepping up what they're doing. They've got 3 commercials just pushing the vision of what the metaverse is going to look like. I've been talking to some of the other major leaders in tech, including Lenovo, which is one of our partners, who believe that the metaverse and the whole concept of a virtual experience is key to their future. And I want to just emphasize the fact that, and something both Barton and I have been pushing, is the fact that you really need to seriously think about how the metaverse, how virtual worlds can enhance your business, help you with planning, and deliver a great customer experience in the future. And those who do so now, are planning for it now, will take a leadership role in their industry, instead of waiting for 2 or 3 years from now and then becoming a follower instead of a leader. And every time I talk to a major company, they always, especially newer ones, they say, we want to be a leader in our industry. And that needs to be, I think, at the mindset of pretty much every company these days, that they should be a leader, not a follower.
Which is why I'd encourage all of our listeners, if you have a little bit of pioneering blood in you, now is the time to put stakes on the ground.
Yeah. Well, we've run out of time for this week's podcast and our particular new case study. I'd like to thank all of you listeners who've joined us, and we look forward to being with you in another couple weeks. Thank you.
Thank you.